There are people who walk into your life and something in you immediately relaxes. Not because they are kind, not because they are safe, but because they feel familiar. Your nervous system recognizes something in them. The tension, the uncertainty, the hot and cold, the way closeness always comes with a price. And instead of running, you move closer. This is not weakness. This is not stupidity. This is your body doing exactly what it was trained to do. Because when your nervous system was shaped inside pain, pain starts to feel like home. Most people assume attraction is about chemistry, about personality, about shared interests or magnetic connection. But for a significant number of people who grew up with emotional chaos, inconsistent caregivers, love that was conditional, closeness that came with control, attraction is something else entirely. It is pattern recognition. The nervous system is not romantic. It does not care about your happiness or your future. It cares about one thing: predictability. It seeks what it already knows, how to survive. And if what it learned to survive was chaos, emotional unavailability, intensity followed by withdrawal, then those are the exact signals it will later interpret as familiarity, as depth, as love. This video is not about blame. It is about understanding why the most damaging connections can feel like the most real ones, and what that says about the nervous system, not about your worth. If you grew up in an environment where love was unpredictable, where warmth would appear and disappear without explanation, where one parent was volatile or emotionally absent, where safety was something you had to earn, then your nervous system calibrated itself to that level of stimulation. Calm did not mean peace. Calm meant something was about to go wrong. Calm meant you stopped reading the room correctly. Calm was suspicious. So when an adult version of you encounters a stable, emotionally present person, something in the nervous system does not recognize it. It does not register as intimacy. It registers as flatness, as boring, as lacking depth. Meanwhile, someone who runs hot and cold, someone who creates longing, someone whose approval is inconsistent, that nervous system knows exactly how to respond. It knows this rhythm. It has been practicing since childhood. The tragedy is not that you chose badly. The tragedy is that the choice felt obvious. When love in early life was also a source of stress, when you had to be careful around the people who were supposed to protect you, when closeness created hypervigilance, the nervous system began to associate the two. Anxious arousal and emotional attachment, uncertainty and longing, the stomach dropping and the heart wanting. This is not metaphor. This is neurological. The same physiological state that anxiety creates, elevated heart rate, heightened awareness, the body on alert, overlaps significantly with how the brain processes attraction. For someone with a well-regulated nervous system, that overlap rarely causes confusion. But for someone whose attachment was formed inside fear, the line between wanting someone and being afraid of losing them can disappear entirely. This is why certain people feel electric. The tension is real, but the electricity is not chemistry. It is cortisol. If affection was something you had to perform for, if being seen required achievement, compliance, emotional management, or invisibility, then love without a cost becomes difficult to trust. Subconsciously, you may find yourself waiting for the other person to reveal their conditions, because everyone has conditions. That is what you learned. When someone loves you easily, openly without demand, part of you does not know what to do with it. It feels unreal, like something is being missed, like you have not suffered enough to have gotten here. So you may find yourself gravitating toward people where love feels earned, where you have to work, where you are always slightly uncertain of your place, because the familiar anxiety of not quite belonging feels more real than the unfamiliar discomfort of being loved without a catch. Children who grew up trying to emotionally reach an unavailable parent, trying to decode their moods, trying to soften their anger, trying to be enough, learned something very specific, that love is something you pursue, not something you receive. They became extraordinarily skilled at reading people, at sensing emotional distance, at trying to close it. In adulthood, this plays out in relationships. Someone who is emotionally closed off or withholding does not feel frustrating in the beginning. They feel interesting, complex, worth understanding. There is a pull, a mystery, a project. What the nervous system is actually doing is replaying the original chase, trying, this time, to finally succeed at what it failed to do as a child. The wound is not your fault, but it is still yours to see. Here is the part that most people miss. Even when these relationships are painful, even when they leave you anxious, confused, emotionally depleted, they still feel more real than relationships where none of that is present. Because the nervous system does not evaluate relationships by how peaceful they feel. It evaluates them by how much activation they create. High activation equals high significance. This is why people describe their most toxic relationships as their most passionate ones. Why they say they never felt that deeply with anyone else. Why they keep returning even after they have left. It is not love they are addicted to. It is a nervous system state they associate with love. And until that association is interrupted, until the nervous system learns that steadiness is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of safety, it will keep navigating toward what it knows. The dangerous thing is not that you loved the wrong person. The dangerous thing is not being able to tell the difference between a connection and a pattern. You are not broken for being drawn to what hurt you. You are a nervous system that learned to orient toward certain signals long before you had language, long before you had choice, long before you could have known what those signals would cost you later. But you are not only your nervous system. There is a part of you, however quiet, that can begin to notice the difference between the feeling of home and the feeling of habit, between the familiar and the safe, between intensity and intimacy. Those are not the same things. They were never the same things. Some wounds do not disappear. They become preferences. They become patterns. They become the invisible criteria you use to decide who feels real. But patterns can be interrupted. The nervous system can learn new signals, slowly, imperfectly, but it can. And the first step is exactly this: understanding why you felt so certain that the wrong thing was right. If this describes something you have felt but never had the words for, the pull toward what hurts, the flatness around what is stable, I want to know. Leave a comment below. Which part of this felt most familiar to you? And if you know someone who keeps returning to relationships that drain them, share this with them. Sometimes the right words at the right time change something.